All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Today's date is September 27th, 2022. And this is Dr. Yehoshua Ben Ephraim saying Ahaya Bayeshem, Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai. And I'm welcoming everybody. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, you were blessed to see another day, and for that all praise, honor, and glory is due to the Most High God of Israel. All right, so welcome to another episode of Real Talk Tuesdays. Kind of went back and forth with what I wanted to talk about today, and I know many of you like my kind of science, DNA, scripture type, merge, if you will. So I like to keep it interesting. I don't want to be boring, but I titled it "Science, Creation, and the Immutable Existence of God" because I remember I would kind of playfully call myself the religious scientist. Well, many of you know religion and science, that's like an oxymoron, which it really shouldn't be. And we're going to kind of talk about that, today. Because a lot of so-called atheists, detractors of the Bible or whatever, they want to put all this emphasis on science, when in actuality, the Most High God, He already gave us the order of things, right? It's in the Bible. Much of what science claims is literally it's in the Bible, but since they don't have a belief system, we are what they would call, we are creationists, right? And I say that with no hesitation, whatever. I'm a creationist. I have a respect for science, but I'm a believer in the Most High God, and He is the creator of the universe. And for all you science buffs and you scientists, this whatever, literally they really think and believe that the universe just kind of came out of nowhere. like they believe that, like it just started from nothing, like we just it just came out of nowhere, right? And for many of you who know or may not know, that's a real condensed version of the Big Bang Theory in essence, right? They really believe that the universe came out of nowhere, and I guess I could understand that, because if they admitted that the universe was created, then they would have to admit that someone created it, right? So I guess I get it. But they call us crazy for believing in God, but for you to believe that something just kind of appeared out of nowhere, like it just kind of created itself just from nothing, that's just kind of that's a stretch for me. Like, because I'm real big on the cause and effect universal law, right? Cause and effect. Now, what I will say, and what I will, kind of concede, I won't even call it a concession. What I will say is this, because it's universally accepted that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Okay, that's universally accepted. Okay, great. Let's frame that. The Most High God is an energy, right? And depending on your belief system, you would call Him an energy or a spirit. Because spirit and energy are both things you can't touch, right? But it gives to existence of something, right? And I used to always use this analogy, right, to give the epitome of the Most High God. And let me say this too. That's the question we'll never answer. God is and always was. He's the first, the last. He's omnipotent, right? He is not a created being, right? He's an energy, and He's always been here. Right? And since we know energy can't be created nor destroyed, there you go. And I would tell people, and it's real simple, it's real subtle. Talking about energy, right? When we turn on the light switch, right? Something we take for granted, we do every day, been doing it all of our lives or whatever. We don't think much of it. We turn the light switch on and we have light, right? And God said, so we turn the light switch on and we have lights. Now, we have lights because of the energy that powers the lights. The energy that powers the lights that we have, we can't see, right? We'll never be able to see it. Yet, we know that the energy exists because what? We have light, right? Well, that's God. God is that energy. We can't see Him or touch Him, but we know that He exists. Huh? Come on here now. That's the power of God. The omnipotent power of the Most High God, who is immutable. He does not change. He will never change. And how do we know he's immutable? Well, he told us. Malachi 3:6. I am the Lord thy God, and I change not. Like literally and specifically, he told us. He didn't use the word immutable, but that's exactly what it means. He is immutable. So when we talk about energy and not being created nor destroyed, that's God. He is the energy that gives us life. Okay? As a creationist, listen, it's not far-fetched to believe that a being much higher than us created man. All that whole Charles Darwin evolution theory is a bunch of foolishness. Okay? I think Charles Darwin was smoking a lot of weed. I don't know what he had going on, but that whole theory of evolution is foolishness. Or men came from apes, yet we still have apes. I mean, just silly stuff, right? And I said this before. If you look at the intricacies of how the human body is made up, no one that looks like me and you is the author of that. Okay, let's get that straight. No one that looks like me and you listening to this podcast is the author of the human body and all the intricacies of every part that makes us who we are as human beings. All right, let's just get that established. So, people hang on to things that when you don't have a belief in something, you'll say anything, right? And that's fine. Because my position, has always been, you can say whatever you want. That doesn't make it true. You can believe what you want. That doesn't make it true. But today we're gonna really get into how close science and the Bible is, right? And and again, I think it's because a lot of scientists they have no belief system. I guess a belief in a being you can't see this behind all this is crazy to them, yet they believe that the universe came out of nowhere and energy can't be created or destroyed, but in the same breath says it's crazy to believe in God. Like it's kind of like, okay, well, which is it, right? Because it kind of conflicts if you think about it. So I'm gonna talk about that today. We're gonna get into the Bible and science and creation and the immutable existence of God. Let's get it. Okay, so if you look at and think about many of the so-called wonders of the world, i.e. things that man just cannot explain, right? You look at the pyramids, as a matter of fact, I think Solomon's first temple was considered one of those wonders. And the point I'm getting at is that with everything that's happened and that we have in the world that we can actually see and maybe even touch, there is a cause behind it, right? That there's and the fact that man can't figure it out, that should tell you something, okay? Like I believe that, and this is my personal belief, I believe that the Most High God puts things here. He puts clues here for us. We're not going to we're going to have a lot of questions. Some we'll be able to answer. Some we'll be able to, make satisfactory answers. And some we just will never know. And I think that's by design, on purpose. But at the same time, the flip side to that if many of you was to really, really get serious about your research and finding out about the Most High God, first, let me say this. Old and New Testament, that mixed down version of God's laws, God's words, whatever, that's a really, really, uber condensed version of the many words of the Most High God. And yes, there are many, many books that are not included in the Bible as we know it, in the Torah or the Tanakh as we know it. There are many books that didn't make it but should have. And many of you know that I feel that the books of Enoch definitely falls into that category. And I say this, I said this before, and I'll say it again. If you are not familiar with the works of Enoch, please Google it and you try to get a PDF version of his works. I actually bought it. It's worth the price of admission. The works of Enoch. The things that's in his words. You read his books, and you know that No human, no one that looks like me and you knows those things that he was talking about. No one. I don't care how, the astronomers, the astrologers, all this kind of stuff. And that's why God mocks astrologers in the Bible. The Most High God doesn't have anything against astrology. I mean, that's a part of his creation as well, right? The astrology sits on if I believe it's the ninth heaven, right under the Most High God. So he has a problem with the astrologers who profess to know the power to basically become him or be stronger than him or more powerful or more knowledgeable than him. That's what he kind of mocks and laughs at. But astrology itself, no, God doesn't have a problem with astrology. I mean, why would he have a problem with something that he created? The thing about astrology is that it wasn't supposed to, that science was not supposed to be given to man. What happened real quick on that is that the fallen angels that were cast out with Satan from heaven, they came to earth and taught man astrology and told them that if they learned astrology, they would be just as powerful as God. And there you go. And they started that, so, and how do I know that? That was in the book, one of the books of Enoch. Okay, he actually names the fallen angels. He names them. I mean, Enoch came with receipts. Okay, Enoch ain't no joke. He lists the angels by name, what they name were, and what they came to earth, and exactly what they taught man. So that's where man got a lot of this knowledge from. That's where they didn't somebody just wake up one day and just had all this intricate knowledge about astronomy and astrology. No. But and again, to understand that, you have to open your mind up to studying outside of the Torah and the Tanakh, because in one of the books of quote unquote lost books of Solomon, he gives us an indication, and I don't know if this was a variation of what happened. I'm not sure, but basically one of the books of Solomon, it tells us how the first temple was made. Remember I mentioned how the first temple was considered one of the wonders of the world, like how it was so intricate, it was so grand and glorious. Like how did men do that? Well, in this book of Solomon, this I don't know if it's the Last Testament or the one of the books of the books of Solomon that was not included in the Bible, said that basically Solomon, by permission from God, summoned these demon angels to help him. He put them to work basically to build his temple. You got to remember, these angels are they're still powerful. They still maintain their power that God gave them. It's just that they're not on his side. But they still have to come under subjection, and he did it by God's permission. So the book says. So my question is, well, to that is that okay? That's very interesting. But if Solomon summoned demon angels to put them, basically ordered them to build this glorious temple, couldn't he just have easily have summoned angels from heaven to do it? And so that's my question. So I don't know if that particular story was based on what actually happened, and it was I don't know, but it definitely raises some questions. But it gives us a little insight into potentially not only how Solomon's first temple was made, but even into the pyramids. Because I don't care what anyone says. I believe with every fiber of my being that extraterrestrials or angelic forces or whatever you want to call them had a hand in helping to build those pyramids. Because I mean, with just how heavy one of those blocks for the pyramids are and how high they go, there's no way. Listen. I don't care nothing about pi. I don't care nothing about all these fancy, this and that to pulleys to do that. Listen, man, ain't nobody pulling no 1-ton brick, 15, 20 feet in the air. I'm not, miss me. I'm not trying to hear that. But anyway, that's just my thing. Maybe I'll deal with that another time or whatever. But like I said, getting back on track. Many of you, just really start getting your research on, man. I mean, there's a lot of books. I think I did a presentation on many of the lost books of the Bible, and ones that I thought were really worth, looking into, researching, reading, whatever. The Book of Jasher is another one, because these books are actually named in the Bible, like they're named. So. if the Bible references these books, I mean, common sense would tell them and us that if the Bible references the book, well, the book should be there, right? It's a reference point. So definitely do that, because, like I said, science ain't doing nothing. God gave us the order of things. He gave us even when with Adam, when he started who begat who. You could argue that started the whole kind of genome sequencing. God giving us the order of things. It was all spelled out for us. Science ain't doing nothing. But anyway, let's get into some of the scriptures and how it relates to science. Okay, and the source I'm citing comes from How the Bible Aligns with Science, copyright 2022 by the Church on the Corner. Church on the Corner. So the Bible supports and confirms modern day science on an overwhelming number of subjects. And it's not a book of fantasy or myths. Far from it. The descriptions that the Bible gives on the following scientific topics are details that the writers many thousands of years ago could not have known on their own or validated the technology available during the day, and have only recently been confirmed and affirmed through so-called modern science. And the first on the list is physics, right? The biblical creation account includes all known scientific elements: time, space, matter, and energy, right? These elements are reflected in the following descriptions: time, in the beginning, right? Space, God created the heavens, right? Matter, and the earth. And then energy, and God said, let there be light, right? Genesis 1:1-3 says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God moving over the surface of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light, right? And we spoke about that energy and God being immutable, and energy can't be created nor destroyed. That is the bare down essence of the Most High God. He is an energy or spirit that was not created, nor can he be destroyed. Keep that in your mind and heart. All right? Moving right along. The first law of thermodynamics, also known as the law of conservation of energy, is a principle in physics which asserts that energy cannot be created or destroyed. I went over that. The Bible creation account that God created everything at the beginning of time is in harmony with this scientific principle. All right? Genesis 2:1-2. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. And by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all of his work. Now, I always had a problem with that God rested, because first of all, the Most High God needs no rest. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't slumber. He needs no rest. I think it's one of the books of Enoch that actually states that Adam was the one who rested. Because remember, he had help from Adam with a lot of this stuff or whatever. And Adam rested. Some kind of way, Adam was the one who rested. It wasn't God. But when we got the version that we have now, they said God rested. That's what's generally accepted, by the masses, that God rested on the seventh day. But I have an issue with that, because even when I was many of you who know my background, when I was a Muslim, we were always taught that, the Most High God needs no rest. He needs no slumber. He doesn't need sleep. He exists free of his creation, right? So it makes no sense to say that he rested. I always had a problem with that. And so anyway, not to go on a tangent, but y'all might want to look into that, as far as one of the books of Enoch addressing who actually rested on that seventh day. It wasn't God. I think it was Adam. He let Adam rested, and then he sanctified that day because Adam rested. But anyway, that's that, right? And so the second law of thermodynamics is a principle in physics that asserts that the universe is constantly moving towards a state of entropy or disorder. The Bible is in harmony with this scientific principle, as it describes the universe as wearing out over time. Psalm 102, 25 and 26 says, of old you founded the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. Even they will perish, but you endure. And all of them will wear out like a garment, like clothing. You will change them, and they will be changed. How about that? Next on the list is astronomy. The biblical creation account accurately addresses the seasons and the clock-like precision of the heavenly bodies to measure time. Genesis 1, 14 through 16. And then God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater lights to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. Job 28:32 says, can you bring from the constellations in their seasons, or lead out the bear with its cubs? All right. And just real quick, and again, the Bible is inundated with astrology references. It's inundated, talking about the different levels of heaven. The problem is, we don't have all the complete works of God that should be in there, and that's why a lot of things aren't, it's kind of left off. It doesn't make much sense. I think it's the third heaven is referenced in the New Testament, right? The third heaven, and so it brings the question: okay, well, gosh, if there's a third heaven, well, what's up with the first and the second? And is there any other heavens beyond the third? And the questions is, and those questions can be answered, but the answers to those questions are not included. So that's why, to bring home the point, that you guys need to look outside of just the Torah and the Tanakh if you really want to do some serious studying and researching on the intricacies and complexities of the Most High God and all the things that, that He's provided for us through His chosen vessels, right? So you have to look outside of that. All right. The Bible describes the star cluster called Pleiades as being tightly bound together, whereas the Orion star cluster is described as loose. It was only recently discovered that star cluster called the Pleiades is gravitationally bound, and that the Orion star cluster is flying apart due to insufficient gravity to hold the cluster together. Job 38:31 says, can you bind the chains of Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Come on here now. This is all so-called scientific stuff right in the Bible. Talking about Pleiades and Orion. Like, what? The Bible describes each star as being unique, right? Isaiah 40:26 says, lift up your eyes on high and see who has created these stars. The one who leads forth their host by number, he calls them all by name. Because of the greatness of his might and the strength of his power, not one of them is missing. And then Psalm 147:4 says, he counts the number of the stars. He gives names to all of them. And let me talk, I got to speak to that real quick, to the omnipotent glory of God. I mean, you really want to try to fool with someone who can count, who knows the number of hairs we have on our head? I know that sounds kind of subtle, but think about that. He knows the exact number of hairs that we have on our head. Do you really want to tangle with someone with that kind of power and that kind of gift of insight, foresight, whatever you want to call it? Like, seriously, we think we know God, but our minds can't really fathom the fullness and the glory and omnipotent power of the Most High God of Israel, the creator of the heavens and the earth and the universe. We really can't, right? We talk this stuff about, we can talk about the immutable qualities of the existence of God and all these different things, but God, his power is so great. Like, we really can't fathom it. I mean, Moses, his hair, everything turned white just from, he didn't even, from the burning bush, just the glory of God was so great. The presence, I mean, he had to take his shoes off and all that, but just the presence of God turned his hair white. Well, that's the glory, right? And that's why I believe Yeshua is described as dark skinned with the white hair and the white, because that's the glory of God. I believe that Yeshua was at different points was in God's presence. You know, God was either ministering to him or whatever the case may be. I believe that's why his hairs is described like that, like just like Moses' hair turned white in the presence, just in the presence of the Most High, that turned his hair white. All his hair just white. That's the glory. I believe the same thing with Yeshua, because remember the angels used to minister to Yeshua. So I really believe, and I don't know if there's anywhere in one of the books of the Bible where Yeshua himself actually fellowshipped, you know, with God. I'm not sure. I'm going to look into that. But that would explain it, because the same thing happened to Moses. You just say, well, why? You know, he was a young man, so why was his hair white? Because, you know, ordinarily we think of white hair as being a sign of seniority, senior, being old, right? But no, not so, not necessarily so, because Moses' hair turned white because he was in the presence and glory of God. That's how strong and powerful God's glory is. Like, I mean, he just couldn't, you know. And then when Enoch ascended to heaven and met God face to face, listen, he commissioned him to do his work through these books, and he says, after that, I'm coming to get you. You can't stay. He met, like, Enoch. That scared the bejesus out of the powers that be. Enoch's works did. I mean, because Enoch came with receipts. I mean, he went to, the angels took him to each level of heaven and told him what he told us what was there. I mean, the book of Enoch, man, it is such a travesty that none of his books were included in the Bible as we know it. I'm serious. It's just really, I mean, that was one of the, I think Enoch's works were, I think, some of the best information that God had for man that the majority of us never got, because it was suppressed, basically. And for a long time, Enoch's books weren't even, you know, published or whatever, because, you know, they were hidden away. And I think, you know, the Most High God made it so where someone found them and, you know, whatever. But, and then a lot of people won't accept the books of Enoch because they think because it's not in the Bible that it's just not true, or it's just not valuable. The work is not valuable, and that's not true, you know. But that's just how people are. You know, people are just so, you know, pigeonholed, where it's like, well, if it's not in the Bible, it must not be true. And see, that level of thinking is what keeps us, you know, from not being able to really grow spiritually and everything. Because, you know, like I said, the true glory and goodness of God cannot be mixed down to one little book. I mean, they did a pretty good job, man. But I mean, listen, there's so much more out there. The Apocalypse of Peter didn't make it. It should have. I just did some gospels out there, you know, that should have made. I mean, it's just a lot. If you can, check out my go find my Lost Books of the Bible teaching and check that out. Well, anyway, moving right along. I'm sorry for the tangent, but it was you know, it was worth it. Okay, the biblical order of creation coincides with the logical sequence of the elements needed before life could be introduced, because Genesis 1 says, the Genesis 1 account, God first created light, right? Then water, then soil, then the plants, then the animals, humans, to eat the plants. Listen, sequence, the order of things. The Bible clearly spells this out. Scientists ain't did nothing. Scientists can't take credit for God's work. It's in the Bible. What are you talking about? Talking about science verifies the Bible. No, on the contrary, the Bible verifies science, because way before any so-called science, we have the Bible. We had the Word of God, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, right? In the beginning, there was always the Word. So science can't take credit for God's word. God put out the natural order of things. Stop playing with us, man. All right? Genetics. The Bible reflects an understanding of the genetic code needed for the replication of life and the propagation of different species. Now check this out. Genesis 1:11-12 says, Then God said, Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. And what does the seed do? It allows for growth of more trees, right? Just that omnipotent, all-knowing gift of foresight, man. I mean, oh man. The land produced vegetation plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And Genesis 1:27-28 says, So God created mankind In his own image, in the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. And then Psalm 139, 13-16 says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Hallelujah. Next up is geology. The Bible describes the earth as a circle suspended in space, which harmonized with the earth being a sphere held in place by gravity. Job 26:7 tells us he spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. He suspends the earth over nothing. Isaiah 40:22 says he sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. How about that? God created the earth from the start to be inhabited. Isaiah 45:18 tells us, for thus says the Lord who created the heavens, he is the God who formed the earth and made it. He established it and did not create it a waste place, but formed it to be inhabited. Quote, I am the Lord, and there is none else. End quote. The Bible teaches that a worldwide catastrophic flood took place in the history of the earth that wiped out every living thing. Modern science also teaches that a worldwide catastrophic event took place in the form of an ice age. And ice is what? Frozen water. Dun, dun, dun. Genesis 7:20-21 says, the waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on land perished, birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Now let me stop there real quick. People say, how can it just rain for 40 days and 40 nights, and just like that flood the earth? Well, let me tell you something. I'm from and live in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's called the Low Country for a reason. Anytime it rains, just for a couple of days, it floods so bad down in the city that, a car can't even drive through it, right? Now, with that being said, now imagine it raining for 40 days and 40 nights on the earth with there being no sewage to drain the water. Just for 40 straight days and nights, just raining like that. Like, yeah, like scientists even had to concede that. Like if there was no water drainage anywhere in the world and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and then we don't even know how hard it was raining. All we know is that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Like, yeah, that could happen. I can listen. The next time we have a flood here in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's just from like a day or two, I'm gonna show you how it looks, just from a day or two of real rain, right? And so you can imagine 40 days and 40 nights doing that. Yeah, it's definitely possible. All right. Okay. So the Bible provides guidance on hygiene and disease prevention that coincide with modern scientific practices. Leviticus 13:45-46 and Numbers 5:1-4 says a medical quarantine was used to isolate those individuals who had contagious diseases until their condition was cured. Come on, man, stop playing with me. This is in the Bible, right? They're talking about with all this Ebola and COVID and social distancing and all that. Man, we've been doing this since the beginning of the time. In the Bible put that out. Science ain't did nothing. Doctors ain't doing or saying nothing. This is all laid out for us in the Bible. Again, science doesn't verify the Bible. The Bible verifies science. Stop playing with us. Okay? The Bible gives guidance on herbal remedies that modern science confirms as having healing properties. Ezekiel 47:12 says the leaves of trees can serve as a source of compounds used for medicines for healing. And Luke 10:34 says olive oil and wine were used to heal wounds. Both are good disinfectants. Okay? It's right there. And it says, let's go here. I'm going to end it by saying this. The Bible asserts that blood carries the life and death of a living being. Leviticus 17:11 and 14. For the life of a creature is in his blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement for yourselves on the altar. It is the blood that makes atonement for one's life, because the life of every creature is its blood. That is why I have said to the Israelites, you must not eat the blood of any creature, because the life of every creature is its blood. Anyone who eats it must be cut off. Oh my God. Let me just say that one more time. And this is God talking in first person. Quote, that is why I have said to the Israelites, quote, you must not eat the blood of any creature, because the life of every creature is its blood, and anyone who eats it must be cut off. And that's why, and I think it's fitting to end it there. That's why the dietary laws of the children of Israel are so strict, because he spells out why, and what he doesn't tell us we're not supposed to know, because the Bible says we aren't supposed to question the potter. He is the potter, we are the clay, right? So any questions that's not answered in the Bible weren't supposed to be, because anything that we need to know, he put it in there for us, or whatever. And that's my position. So I hope this didn't bore you too much. I wanted to kind of deal with it, a little bit. I know it went on a little bit, but hey, it's over when it's over, right? I really hope you all enjoyed the presentation. Again, science, creation, and the immutable existence of God. This presentation was brought to you by Dr. Ephraim. So until next time, I'm saying Hayya by Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atu Adonai, and everyone have a great day. Shalom, elect.